is a true twin screw. Shout out to Future Fabrication, man. Damn, they did their thing. And they got it done a week ago. So the turbo just came, and we are looking decent. Combination wise, we got Future Fab Manifold, Borg Warner I think it's the SX200 series, but it's a twin scroll one. So yeah, got the 90 degree on there, spinning flawlessly, no play whatsoever. I'm liking this setup. All I'm waiting on now is for the mounts to bolt it to the manifold. They did give me a T4 gasket, but I mean, I don't know about that one. From what I'm seeing, I'll keep it as a replacement just in case. But I'm glad that I ordered. Well, they didn't give me any hardware at least, so I'm glad that I ordered a set of studs for the flange, and I got a different T4 twin scroll gasket. I think it's like a 5-layer or some shit like that. So I'll keep this as a spare. It also looks like it comes with a warranty. Oh, okay, that's good. But yeah, I got it from AGP. They welded on the 90 degree flange. And yeah, for the people that are going to ask, I have a I can't think right now, but I believe it's the S200. Actually, it should say it on the little thing. They don't have any water lines, but I'm pretty sure it's the S200 SXE turbo. I just don't want to steer you guys wrong. There you go. Yep, S200 SX turbo. S200 SX turbo. It is the 1.0 AR. So it's got the big ass, obviously the big ass, whatchamacallit. But it's 1.0 AR, V-band outlet, and then I got the 90 degree elbow welded on towards the compressor side. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to that. So this is the hot side, at least, that I'll be using. I'm gonna have to figure out how to change out the water lines and the oil drain and feed, because I don't see any water lines that need to be ran for this turbo. It looks like it's just an oil drain and an oil feed, whereas with the Neo turbo it had oil and coolant going to it. But that's just a matter of research, so we will see. But yeah, I'm definitely stoked about this. Just got the hardware that I ordered from Full Race to mount the turbo. This is going to be the twin scroll gasket and the manifold bolts and studs. Did come with the gasket with the turbo, but I just wanted to get something a little stronger, plus also get the hardware at the same time. So more stickers to add to the sponsorship. Well, not necessarily sponsorship, but the rear quarter glass. I'm gonna go ahead and mount this up anyway, just to put it all together. So this is the Full Race. I think it's either 5 or 9 layer gasket. This is the matching M10 1.5 manifold hardware that they also got. Both of these is which I will be using to mount the turbo. I'm gonna thread them in, but I don't have the tools here to torque it down, so they'll be torqued down when I get it to the garage. But like I said, I just want to have something a little more built for it. One thing to note out specifically, if you look closely, you can see that the thread pitches on both sides are different. One side is for the nut, one side is for the manifold. The ones for the nut are the big ones. So these will screw on this side, and then this side will go into the manifold. Keeps you from getting it miss and matched, and it's also pretty important for torquing them down. There are torque specs for these that Full Race provides on their website. So that's pretty much that, but you would pretty much just take it, put it in the washer, thread it in, and then tighten down the nut over it, and there you go. Alright, so the last piece to the puzzle has arrived, and that is the cosmetic gasket for the manifold in conjunction with Nubis Performance exhaust manifold hardware. These are replacement manifold studs, bolts, and washers, brand new. Got these just because it's always, I mean, I've heard a lot about people having problems with any RB engine manifold studs, as I will explain later on. So I just went ahead and bought new ones for that. Got the cosmetic gasket. So with everything that I have purchased for the hot side, I should not have to take this back apart for anything. New gasket, new studs, new manifold, new gasket on the turbo, new hardware. Everything hot side is going to be brand new. I don't want to have any problems with it whatsoever. And that's going to be the case for a lot of stuff. Even when it comes down to like the water pump, I'll probably get brand new hardware for them. Nubis Performance, they make a lot of hardware kits for the RB engines. If my guys that shop on Raw Brokerage will know that. So you'll see a lot of these packs and stuff throughout the build. But yeah. So that's pretty much everything that is needed for this. I don't know where to put this for the time. That's pretty much everything that will be needed for this operation. So the next clip will be me uninstalling the current setup, and then it'll be putting in all of this stuff. So let's go ahead and cut to that. Okay. So since I'm only taking the turbo off and probably the manifold, I'm gonna start with the heat shield. I already loosened up all these bolts. Everything on the heat shield is 10 millimeters. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, from what I can tell. This is the bracket that holds in the oxygen sensor for the downpipe. And so that's that. And then you'll be able to see the turbo. This is an AC line. So I'm gonna get this off first. All right, and without the little heat shield, you have access to the downpipe was already accessible, but it's easier to get to now. You can see the turbine side of the turbo and the compressor side of the turbo. It's a bunch of vacuum lines here that aren't going to this, so I'm gonna try to move these out the way. Okay, these go to the inlet and the controller. So as far as getting the turbo off, if you want to go walls to the wall, I guess it would just be these 4 bolts that hold it to the manifold. But I'm gonna try and disassemble all this stuff. It looks like it's mostly lines and clamps that you pull off. Like I see a clamp right here. You know, it's mostly vacuum lines and stuff, but I'm gonna pop most of this off of this ground, okay? And then we'll go about taking the actual turbo off and go from there. time lapse that you just saw was about an hour and maybe 10 minutes. So that's how long it takes to get it took me, an idiot, to get the turbo off. So far so good. I do need to invest. I need to start investing in like something to catch fluid. But I kind of kept this in the orientation just for those that don't know. I learned it in the process of doing this, but the Neo turbos or the Neo rb25, it might be the same, whatever. So right here is the oil drain line. So that's this bottom fitting that was on there. That's the oil drain. Up here, I believe, is the oil feed. So boom and boom. This is the coolant feed, and this is the coolant return, I believe, as well. So keep that in mind. As you saw, part of the reason it took so long was because I was letting the coolant drain out. I knew there would be oil in there, but I didn't know that they were also I didn't know they also had coolant lines on them too. So that was a learning experience. But yeah, and then there is these things that are on the turbo mount, the turbo studs or whatever. I can't think of the proper name for them. These you'll have to bend back in order to get a socket and or wrench on them because they hold the bolts in. I'm considering putting these on the new manifold just to act as an extra thing to keep it from, you know, coming undone. Everything will be torqued to spec, but that's just another thing. So that is pretty much the turbo uninstall. I do need to take this manifold off, so the heat shield will be next. I need to take all of this recirculation stuff off too, and get going on that. So that'll be the next thing that I get after I inspect this turbo. It doesn't seem like it's bad at all. I mean, this engine had 60,000 kilometers, so not too much. But as far as like the turbo itself, there's not too much shaft play back and forth at all, really barely any, and it spins freely. So I'd say we're pretty good on that. And I didn't break anything, which is well, I did break something, but it wasn't on the turbo. What I broke was the vacuum port for this recirculation valve, but since I'm not going to be using that, I didn't really care too much. That was a little too much strength on the vice grip when I was taking it off, and it's in one of these. But still, the other side is still inside one of those. When I was trying to like twist it, I ended up pulling it and it came off. But that's where I'm at so far. I'm gonna take the manifold off next, and then we'll continue. Right, so for the manifold, I'm not gonna do a time lapse because my phone is getting ready to die. Well, not getting ready to die, but I only got 30%. Came in here with 70. First time lapse took a lot out of it. But pretty much for the manifold, all the heat shield bolts you want to take out. I got 2 more up here. The recirculation stuff is gonna be in the way. I mean, you probably can do it without it, but it's gonna be in the way. As far as that, it's just a clamp right here to pop this end out, clamp right here to pop this end out, and you should be able to slide it out. There is a bolt right here, and there's another one that this is connected to on the other side. I think that's one of these. I think it's down there. If you see it right there. Yep. And you take those out, and this whole thing will pop out, and that's how you get rid of the this recirculation stuff. Pop this out, and then you'll be able to see the exhaust studs right there. It'll be a bunch of these, and after you take those out, the manifold will pop out. I'll show you the exhaust studs once I got this stuff off. Okay, so I took the exhaust manifold off. That's gone. I mean, not the manifold, the exhaust heat shield off, the recirc stuff. So this is what it looks like after that. And as you can see, what I was talking about, all the exhaust bolts. This is pretty much the last thing that you need to take off in order to get this going. I don't know what size these are yet, but I'm pretty sure they are what they are. But they need to come off. And then I got to figure out how to get the studs out. I don't know if I'm going to get the studs out now or if I'm going to wait until I'm putting the new manifold on, because I don't have the hardware to put them back in. But we will see. See if I can figure out what size these are on camera. They look like they'd be a 14. I don't think I have a 14 with me. This is a 12. Yeah, they're probably a 14. Let me go ahead and step to my thing. 13, 14. Okay. 14. So they're all 14 millimeter studs. I'm gonna start popping these off and then take a look at underneath. All right, so a few things. I got it off, obviously. And this is why I recommend getting all this stuff beforehand. So as I've mentioned, I have a cosmetic gasket. I have brand new hardware for the manifold to the engine. I also have a, manifold to the turbo hardware, brand new stuff for that, all coming. I didn't even really put any effort into pulling this off. This gasket was just done for beforehand, like before I even got to it. So that's one thing. As you can see, is still gasket pieces remaining on the block, and like I said, I didn't really put any effort into getting it off, so that gasket was just done for the most part. The second thing, these are in order. As you will notice that one of them has a stud in it. That is the third one at the top right here. I don't know if this is I'm pretty sure that, I don't know about them coming out, but I know the exhaust studs on RBs are known for problems, which is why I was replacing them anyway. But this one, the nut on it was seized. So instead of pulling the nut out, I pulled the whole stud out. Glad that I'm replacing them. So that's just another thing to look out for. I will say that there is one bolt on the manifold, on the stock manifold. Let's see if I can show you guys. That's a little hard to get, and that's this one. Specifically because this one is right behind the flange, and you can't get a socket on there. You gotta use a wrench. That's the only one that gave me a little bit of, I guess, something, if you want to call it. But yeah, you gotta use a wrench for that one. Can't use a socket, it won't fit. Unless you get like a small one, but then I don't think you're gonna pop it off. So this job was a success. Just trying to get the remainder of this gasket off. But yeah, this job was a success. Got everything off. So the next time I'm here, I should be putting in the new manifold and going from there. So I'm gonna tape this up. You don't want nothing getting into your engine cylinders, moisture, dust, whatever it is. You don't want nothing in there. So tape this up and we're gonna call it a day. So the first thing as far as getting the new studs in is to take out the old ones, obviously. For this, you're gonna want to do the 2-nut method. Just a quick rundown of this before I do these all and cut to the next clip. Take 2 of the studs, put one in, just tighten it down as much as you can, put the other one on top, tighten this one. I used my ratchet for it. Tighten it down as much as you can on top of that first nut, and then you open in the wrench, put it on that second one and loosen it. And if you give it enough force, that whole thing should spin. If you see it spinning right there, yeah. So the whole stud's spinning, and that's how you get it out. You just do the same thing for all these. As for putting it back in, I'm not gonna say it's the same way, but it's pretty much just putting it in, threading it in, tightening it down, all that stuff. So yeah. So as far as I know, installing these, pretty much threaded in. Now these bolts or these studs are different from these, as in these have kind of like an equal length on both sides. These have one side smaller than the other, so the small side goes in, big side goes out. That's how you want to do that. So you thread it in, put the nut on, just get it down until it's snug, then back it off. And when you put the manifold on, you torque it all down to spec, which is 20 foot-pounds. And that's how you do this. So now that these are all on, I'm gonna take these studs off. I'm gonna fit the gasket and manifold, and then torque these down to spec. So this is what I'm facing right now. The manifold, as you can see, is on here. Cool. The problem is I still have 1, 2, and 3. I took these studs back out, and this one won't allow me to go on. So this one goes to this, and as you can see, there's no way that the manifold is gonna allow me to get this on there. And I also tried using a stud that didn't have that wing or that, you know, like washer thing. Same situation. So that's the case with that one. For these two, this one goes in there and there's one in there. Shit, I can't do this with one hand, but I took these studs out because they were hitting the manifold on both of these holes. So if you try to, you know, put it in or whatever, this part hits the manifold right here. And then as you can see by the angle of that one, there's absolutely no way that's gonna have this much room to fit it there. So that's what I'm facing right now. I'm trying to figure that out. I would rather not cut these studs to make these things easier to get on, but at the same time I don't necessarily want to run the manifold without 3 fasteners. So that's what I'm facing right now, but I'll worry about that later. Not when it's in the car, but like, you know, a different day or something like that, because for the most part it's on. I want to mount the turbo and finish out this video because it's been dragging on. Alright, so that is it mounted. I am clearly going to have to clock this because this goes directly into the power steering. But outside of clocking the turbo, this is looking good. Sneak peek at the oil lines. I got the fittings in the turbo already ready to go. But that is looking decent. Let's see if I can take a step back here so you can appreciate this big turbo setup.
Yeah, boy.
Alright. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Catch you guys next time.